I had a dream. Please go check out the previous part to gauge what in the world we're talking about here. Last night, it was low-key disturbing, but also kinda not disturbing, because, you know, I can't really hate, but also I am hating, because it's unfair. And allow me to, like, you know, young men, since this is a prophecy, right, I get to tell it to you, because I can't teach men. But if at all I've got prophecy given me, just as my dreams are prophetic, you can heed me, right? And then I will shut up afterwards and sit down and allow myself to be trained by the patriarchy. The Lord does not allow for women to preach or to exercise authority over a man, so do not mistake me as one that is walking in that folly. I am just prophesying what I saw in this dream. Young men, the Bible makes it clear that you gotta love Christ the way that you gotta love women, your wives, the way that Christ loved the church. And if you find a woman that is a damsel in distress, given that you are in a position to be muscular and rescue the day, you've got those rabobe muscles, those Spider-Man muscles, and on top of that you're working, so you are financially independent and you are in a position to basically rise to the occasion and help a woman along that is really struggling. According to the Lord, that is a very admirable deed. Indeed. It is 100% admirable, and there are not enough men in these streets that are doing what is right, that are serving the needs of women, that are chivalrous. So if you have got a desire for chivalry in your heart, open a door for an older lady, but do not pursue her. Why? Because the Lord has called you to love him, to love women, with your wives, as Christ loved the church. And if this woman stands to be essentially embarrassed by ending up with you, there is no love in that. There is no love in that. You have to look at the whole ecosystem, the entire periphery. Seek the Lord's face for a woman that's like Karabo, that's admirable, do that. Because insofar as I'm pursuing Christ, you ought to pursue what I'm pursuing. So seek the Lord's face for your women to be like me. I've tried to reach these young ladies for Christ. One even contacted me when I was still uploading on TikTok, trying to get, you know, counsel from a sister, but she got all overwhelmed and, you know, just kind of she was tired by my godliness. She felt exhausted, exasperated. She felt overwhelmed and cooed by how thick godly I was. Mame King. And so she kind of broke away because she thought I was too religious. She still wanted to go alo jabo chabakhache. When I was working at to go and enjoy her youth, when I was working at MTN, I had a younger friend, right? I had a colleague that was younger than me. She was only 3 years younger than me. But when you're younger, a 3-year age gap is kind of substantial. So she to me was like more like my baby sister. And she was also an intern while my career was quite established, right? And this girl used to absolutely love me, hover around my desk and follow me everywhere I go. She obviously saw me as quite the role model and she could not get enough of me, all right? I was like, you take 5 ka lunch, ya orange, or ya guava. She could not stop drinking out of me. And I adored that. I was trying to evangelize her for Jesus, and we would talk a lot about Christ indeed, right? And she was interested in the things of God, but she was young, right? And still, like, I'm 26. So this chick is like 23, right? And to her, what it is that I was looking at, she wasn't looking at. I was ready to get married. She was still kind of trying to have fun. That's why I get it when you are younger, a 3-year age gap is quite substantial. There's quite a difference between a 23-year-old and a 26-year-old. There's a massive difference. You would agree, right? Yeah, so this chick was that. And one time I tried to counsel her, like she was talking about going to some club, partying, and just having a really good time. And I tried to sort of kind of highlight, you know, the nature of debauchery that she was trying to engage in and how it's going to mess with her spirit. And she was like, karabo mina ngifuna ukudlubusha bam. Right? She was like, let me enjoy my youth. And I was like, yeah. I got born again at 26, and the first thing that I regretted was that mindset. Because it made me fornicate. It made me frequent places I would much rather have not been. It made me endure more babalasses than I would appreciate. It also made me hang out with people I don't like. And it also made me date guys I can't, like, to this day, stand. I wish I'd never met them. If I had remained, I wished when I got born again that I got saved as a teenage girl before I could even have sex, because of the fact that I wished I had remained a virgin. I wished I had been given the gospel believably and solidly in a way that was very convicting when I was still a kid, so as to not even break my virginity in the first place. I wished I had never experienced and my first drunken stupor, all of those things, I regretted them. And I was just 26, but I was dealing with a 23-year-old friend that I knew if at all she ever gave her life to Jesus Christ, she would get to the point where she would wish she had listened to me. Because I wish I had been properly evangelized at just 16 or at just 15 or at just, you get my point, where it is that I would belong to a church, belonging to youth group, and use my skills and my talents from being a child, and that's it, and then end up marrying a virgin type thing. But things just kind of fell apart before I was evangelized. I knew that this friend of mine, would get to a point, if at all the Lord did finally touch her and reach her, where she would be like, oh snap, I wish I had listened to Karabo at 23. But all I could do was just kind of shrug my shoulders on some, okay girl, I'll see you on after the weekend, bye. And things just carried on from there. I lost everything, and so broke contact with that female, following which the Lord showed me that she was kind of like, oh snap, whoops, after everything happened to me. So only flaccid and fluffy and lukewarm, but I'm pretty sure that as the years have progressed, she has probably thought deeply now. She is also in and of herself now in her late 30s. So now we're basically the same age. The older you get, the smaller, the more age gaps taper, right? Yeah, and so now this chick I'm 39, so she's 36. Now she's probably thinking very soberly, in a way that she wasn't when she was 23 and I was 26. And she is probably thinking, man, like what happened to Karabo was rough, like that was nasty. And the fact that I wasn't there for her, what in the world is up with me? What in the world is up with me? So the females that y'all have got for yourselves at your disposal to, choose, pick among them, to make wives, have that level of immaturity in them. The one that chatted with me, that contacted me, tapped on my shoulder from TikTok, right? She liked me, she saw me as a role model, but imagined me too heavy, right? She was also 22-ish, 22, 23. Yeah, and this young lady, she imagined me inebriating. I made her drunk with all of my religiosity, and she couldn't deal, she couldn't take it, she couldn't stomach it. Hadn't yet reached solid conviction and wanted to go ayodla ubusha back. Women, however, Adam and Eve, when they fell, God judged them, right? From now on you will die. So they started to perish. And among the judgments that they were slapped with, his judgment was that he would lord it over his wife with an iron fist, or in other words, he would want to rule her. But with Eve, hers was, yes, she would give birth to children in hardship. With Adam, it was also work by the sweat of your brow. So work ganzima, basically breaking a sweat and breaking some blood out of that sweat when you work, and you're gonna want to rule your wife. Eve was told that she's gonna have a hardship with giving birth to babies, and also that from her desire will be for her husband, so she would ever salivate and long after her man. But Adam, because of his desire to rule over her, would not really give her that affection, wouldn't give her that affection, but the woman would want it. And so it would just be the striving, with women struggling to get love from men who just want to rule them. That's what's going on in the world right now. I bet you can tell that it's happening already. Women that are just so hungry and thirsty for love from a guy ongayenzi sense, but inhlonipho, he wants it high and low. Respect, he wants it high and low, even though his is a character that leaves a lot to be desired, but he will not ever compromise on his desire for respect. Given that is the challenge, the inside women and men, Eve and Adam and Eve respectively, it must be gauged therefore the incredible potential for influence that men have over women, insofar as these females will be given love in return. If at all women can be fashioned, insofar as women can be inspired rather, or motivated, that's what's good, to do something that will gain them love. Insofar as they can be the thing that influences women. That's why, okay, let's rather rephrase this. The thing that influences women is the potential for receiving love. And so if you want your women to be like me, you gotta influence them to want to be like me. Because currently I ain't doing a good job by myself getting to these females, because I tried to reach these youngsters, because I understood the regret I felt when at 26 I finally gave my life to God, and regretted walking around ke jabu chabaka ke hlanya. Yeah, that crazy mode that I was in. I thought it would never die. I was YOLO, you only live once. Except I came to learn later on that, but snap, you can die twice in the second death with Jesus, judging the living daylights out of me. I regretted my sinful life that I was living. And so it is the prerogative of men, given that God has given you the baton to teach, to uproot youthful passions and youthful folly, the folly of youth in women, can easily be uprooted by men in a way that it cannot easily be uprooted by women. Because even when they find us as role models, insofar as they imagine that it is cooler in the eyes of Jabu to just be this like, yo, hot knock girl drinking it up a storm, booty hopping, popular all over the city because every party she's at it, if that's what makes her fantastic in the eyes of a very carnal Jabu, ujablani, hey dog, uyamosha, umfazi wakho, you are destroying your own future wives. These men that are proliferating debauchery in women, that insist that these ladies be loose like little cannons out during these streets, whipping out their ferocity, how ferocious they are. Yeah, they are just being fierce like Sasha because they think they Beyonce's demon. Hey. Yeah, these women think that it is, beneficial for them to be like that, just all over the show. But deep down inside, men, given that you are entirely duplicitous, you lie to yourselves in the worst way. You know that you want these manyeus for wives. You know what you ultimately want to marry. And so all these ladies that are out here grinding against your manhood in the club, you know you ain't trying to marry that. You know. Yet you are priding yourself in praising it like fervently with a fever when you are still young. Because you are going to play around with these play-aroundable females. When everybody's still young, they're like your toys that you are playing with. When you know that you will never marry them. You know it. There was this like random human individual that I used to work with at MTN in my team. He was now, headed for his mid-30s. And he was like, snappity doop, I guess I better start partying now. I want a wife. Made a decision overnight to go to chicken ozamchata. Dude, however, was still out here. He was still partying it up a storm. But he wanted a wife. So what did he do? He went and grabbed his girlfriend. What is Savannah? When he met her, she was on top of the table out here dancing it up a storm, like downing Isavana Ezitre in one sitting. And then he decided to sit her down and tell her that I intend to go to Pussy Savan. Yo, dude, I'll tell the Savan This guy was like, he probably sat his woman down on some, you gotta bring down your drinking. Because I love you, girl. And you also got to get yourself a little bit more responsible. No more partying all week, every weekend with your girls. The way that you are. Because, I'm looking to, like, get married and stuff. And this woman was, like, she gave him so much attitude on some, I'm telling Pussy Savannah. I'm telling That means you found me drinking this booze, this liquor. You found me literally being able to handle my liquor, 3 of them on a dance floor. You, like, the day I met you, I was gyrating up against your manhood, and you were feeling it. And we've been dating for a minute now, and now you tell me that, sweet konyana, you wanna go and marry Manyew. You wanna make me a dog wearing, like, on a rock wearing Manyew. And this chick was like, take it or leave it. Like, she slapped but take it or leave it. And my colleague, guess what he did? He left it. Hey, Lama daughter. He left it, broke the heart, and then started going to church. Imagine that. He started going to church. Like, when I remember my boss talking about this phenomenon of this colleague of ours on some hebatung. Let's say his name was Jabu, indeed. She was like, hey, Jabu, obvious. And I remember my colleague and me and this other female colleague that used to work closely with this guy being like, yes, Lama daughter. They find us on the stripper pole in the club, and then they try to make out of us petticoat wearing, random like off-grid lifestyle type females. On a stripper pole. Coco Taboo, Taboo, the nightclub Taboo, used to have a stripper pole, right? And like women, like regular girls, not so much strippers, would pride themselves in like twirling on this thing, just as to fulfill the fantasy of men that go to strip clubs. But getting a stripper in a woman that's not a stripper, getting a stripper in a woman that is not a stripper, but one that's got skills of a stripper. This whole like desire to fulfill men's fantasies with the stripper pole was so poignant in my generation. I don't know if it's still a thing, right? That there were classes that women in my age group, my peers in corporate, were taking. Stripper classes, like as in stripper pole classes. Pole dancing, thank you, that's what it's called. Women in their numbers were taking pole dancing, saying that it is really good for fitness. It tones the upper body and the legs and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but so does the gym, so does regular dance. Like, so many other things tone the body. Like, you don't gotta go out like that. Capoeira tones the body, girl. Like, kickboxing, do that. Like, there are so many things you can do. The gymnastics, you don't gotta go and be licentious about it. But these women were like, no, but it's gonna make me a diva. It's gonna make me bosso. For me to know how to go up and down a stripper pole. If anything, I want to install one in my house, where it is that my husband is going to be, or boyfriend is going to ever be pleased by the sight of his corporate heel wearing serious lady in the office but freak in the evening girlfriend. It can do these things. These women go out of their way to please very licentious components or facets of their boyfriends, the sides of them that are fulfilling their royal oats. They're sowing the royal oats. They're exploring the cosmos out there, the ecosystem, because they're still young. But then when they want to get married, they make like Ujabu the colleague. That's out here telling you savannah drinking female dancing on top of tables to calm down, like take a chill pill. And this chick is like, no, and then he dumps her and then starts going to church. And the thing with going to church as well, I've been lamenting about it, rapping on about how it is that there are all these guys trying to marry godly girls after they have like painted the town red and ransacked these streets as harlots, spiritual harlots. Do you understand? That are not regarded in the sight of God as anything worth the while to go and take a godly girl, but they clean themselves up and wear a bow tie, never mind a regular tie, looking like Bozo the Clown, rocking up at a church, talking about how his God is able, lifting his hands in praise and worship, winking at some honest lady that is out here properly being about her father's business, trying to find a Rebecca, albeit not being, trying to find a woman being about her father's business, but you're not like the Abraham to Sarah, you're not the set apart dude, but you in church with a bow tie because you was Bozo the Clown. That's what's good. You be looking nasty, you're wearing a tuxedo because you're trying too hard, you're working too hard, given that you never ever wear a tuxedo, your jeans are always down your booty, wearing those big chunky Jordan sneakers on the weekends, but this time around, I better kick in baboza le bow tie, boza. Gabo, ingazanyana fitted, enangle mutete. Ironed into by the living daylights of it, ironed into by ugogo. Never mind your mom. You literally went to Nkhono lo iron mtete. Oh, the way ufitla nkerekeng looking like umzalwane ngakhona. Even in the office, your pants aren't that well ironed. But at church, you be looking like that dude that's been out here in this Bible street since you were a child. And then you speak Christianese because you know enough Bible, and you deceive an unfortunate Christian lady into like embracing the living daylights out of you, therefore making her unequally yoked with an unbeliever that is still a clubbing random, that is still a worldly guy, but he wants a good girl that's not all about that savannah business. If anything, communion. I know this chick is sober. I got poozy. If at all communion, she says no thank you, because right now I'm trying not to stumble myself with alcohol. That's the girl that he wants to marry, dumping the savannah girl even though he's never really put the savannah down. Yeah, I'm trying to explain right now is that these 22-year-olds, these 21-year-olds that tend to date guys that are like 24, 25, 26, that are still enjoying the world instead of being ready for marriage. This guy Ola Wako MTN was like headed for 35. He was like in his early to mid 30s, and he was now ready for marriage. So guys, when they get to their 30s, that's when they start to panic. Women, when they get to the late 20s, that's when they start to kind of relax and just panic too, right? Because the guys will marry in their early 30s, and women that are in their late 20s, while however, if they're in their 20s, they are out here roaming these streets with 22, 23-year-old girls that nobody is trying to get married yet at that time yet, right? In the larger majority of people, nobody is yet trying to get married, and so everybody is just having fun. And when everybody's having fun, there is a positive reinforcement or a training of behavior in women of being debauched. Like these women are, thanks to the fall and the judgment by God, for them to long after their husbands, to a point of like basically just being aggrieved by their lack of reciprocity. That whole thing is what trains women by positive reinforcement. Bad girls to be freaks. If you know, pole dancing freaks, to be essentially these loose cannons all over the show. Why? Because it is being richly rewarded by the guys they're dating. these guys who want to rule them with an iron fist. Everything they say these women do, why? Because they're desperate for love. Women, it's their judgment. They're desperate for love. They want to be accepted. So the more guys are spazzing over them, the more guys are trying to give them love, the more guys are asking them out, the more guys are like, yo, I want to be with Dinero because she a freak. I want to be with Mina because she a freak. Yeah, no, for now. He's trying to be with Upinki for now. He's trying to be with Ojotatso for now. Because you a freak for now. But like proper, most men are not trying to marry a freak. Look at what happened with Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose. He married a freak and then later on was on some, hey girl, you a stripper, like you're a bad girl. So he's a guy that married a fantasy and then ended up embarrassing the fantasy. He married a fantasy and ended up embarrassing the fantasy of which was Amber Rose. When she was now all of a sudden in his life, he stopped salivating and fetishizing what under heaven it is that Amber Rose was, and so treated her like, yo, she a stripper. But before they got married, he was on some, I'm in love with a stripper. Yeah, exactly. So if you are the fantasy, you ain't got no business fulfilling the desire of a fan. Like, proper. Anyway, so men, what I'm trying to get at right now, these females that are younger, by now 22, 23. Yeah, well, right now you're kind of waking up because it's 2023 and their nastiness is getting too extreme. The debauchery of women is getting worse and worse because we're in the last days. 2 Timothy 3. In the last days, perilous times will come. Men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, etc. Given that the love of many will grow cold, according to Matthew 24, because of an increase in lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. Given that women inherently want love, they will do more and more to get it, including stooping lower and lower to get it. We are living in a very pornographic culture, a very pornographic society. The pornographic culture or society of which has made it sellable or worth the while to embrace a pornographic lifestyle. Women are doing OnlyFans because men are salivating like no man's business at the prospect of seeing naked bodies. Porn is becoming less and less categorized as such, because more and more is being looked at as what would be the equivalent of soft porn or viewable even on YouTube. And so women are wearing less and less. They're becoming more and more debauched. They're becoming more and more scantily clad. They're becoming more and more licentious, lascivious. They are becoming more and more lewd. They are becoming more and more like prostitutes. Back in the day, who even used to wear entire big frocks going down to their ankles. But now they're walking around with G-strings in broad daylight and just like pasties on their boobs to sell their and that's what you're finding, unfortunately, in nightclubs. What women are wearing. Never mind nightclubs, but just walking in these streets. The level of nudity. I mean, when I was when I was a student at Wits, already there was a lot of nudity on campus, but it's worse now. It's worse now. If you go on YouTube and you watch dance videos of many dancers across the world, not all dancers are like that. There's so much licentiousness, and the amount of dancing that women do wearing G-strings and nothing but bras is out of this world ridiculous. Like, it's the kind of stuff you would have found historically only in strip clubs. You are now finding it in a regular non-age restricted video on YouTube, and yet YouTube has got the brazen audacity to age restrict a video that a Christian uploads that is sharing carnage, the Middle East, carnage by Hamas. They are age restricting such content, or age restricting content where somebody is talking against the colorful agenda, the alphabet community. They are age restricting that, but they're not age restricting a woman splitting her legs in the spread eagle like she's doing cell block tango, wearing a thong. And sometimes these women who are dancing in thongs aren't even wearing stockings, be they fishnet or whatever. So there's like a massive risk of like a wardrobe malfunction along the lines of the one that slapped Janet Jackson silly some years ago, where it is that you might see the whole Monty on YouTube. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, they're dancing like that in a very licentious fashion, and it is so revered, it is so applauded, it is so congratulated that these women, because of the love that they're getting for being this lewd, are reinforced in that behavior to continue in this way. And so the hypersexualization or the hyperpornographization of women has that in a rewarded capacity has made them look like it's nothing at all to do porn. Like it's nothing at all to do OnlyFans. Like it's nothing at all to be a porn star. It's actually celebrated and heralded these days. There are women who are doing stripper vlogs on YouTube where they're showing people the stripper life, because stripper lifestyles have been so proliferated by the entertainment industry, especially rap, has so glamorized it that now they're able to come out of the shadows where before they were hiding these professions, and they are sharing their lifestyles on YouTube, and they are being congratulated by everybody on earth, as in like people that are working boring 9-to-5 jobs in a call center, following the stripper vlog, and they are clicking like and they are commenting saying women empowerment, except that that's not even empowerment, not even in the slightest. It is rather degradation in the worst way, but they are rather reinforced to stand with this behavior to a point where there is no incentive in them to do differently, right? And these women that are being praised so much by the world, and especially men who are like, do more, and so being desired, salivated after by a bunch of lustful randos that would never marry you, that's not enough. It is literally not enough. And even if they were to marry you, they get to a point where, just like Wiz Khalifa, they are just trying to divorce Amber Rose because I realize I want a woman that's barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen, wearing a whole like parachute dress. I want that. I want a trad wife. Men will always default to trad wives. I'm sorry, women. Take it or leave it. You might want to believe that we're in 2023 and things have changed, but men will always default to the trad wife. They will always covet. They will always long. They will always salivate after and desire a good girl. It is inevitable. It might take a whole decade for them to get there. It might take some time while they are still immature and are fulfilling their passions with their lust and just running with passions. But ultimately, they are going to long for the woman that covers her body up when everybody goes shopping. There are there are women who are so immodest out here in society, so barely dressed out here in society, walking with their boyfriends, that all I can think about is, whoa, like, have you no jealousy over your wife? Have you no jealousy over your girlfriend? There are men who initially start out feeling proud of the fact that they can walk around with a woman that's barely dressed, wearing just a string for like a bra, and just a mesh on top of that particular string for a bra. Yeah, they can pride themselves in the gorgeous body of their women being salivated after by everybody, but there comes a time when they not only get pressure from other men, but in and of themselves they feel like, but those are my goods. They are possessive over their women. They want to try and rule it over them. So just like my colleague, he gonna tell you to drop the savannah and get more serious, or I'm going to dump you, Lady Chica. And this Lady Chica then, upon facing being dumped by this irresponsible human individual, is then going to feel hella tiny, hella small, hella like basically infinitesimal, microscopic in the presence of this guy. When before he made her feel so big for being so scantily clad. He made her initially feel gorgeous, but now he's making her feel like she's a whore. It's like, whoa, what is it? Which is it? I know what it is. It's time. It progressed. And now you want a trad wife. The devil is an ancient spirit, and so the way that he deceives is similar all throughout the ages. He don't change, meaning that he knows exactly what people will do in Jefela very predictably as the years progress, despite what we imagine to be times that have changed. Times may have allegedly apparently changed, but the way human beings often default to a set way of being is just the same throughout the ages. Predictably. Men always end up wanting modest, put together, classy, elegant women that are self-respecting, even though they start out with bad girls, even though they start out with these hard knock, all over the show, grunting, stripper pole sliding down it like a little snake down a tree. Ladies, they start out salivating after that, and then next thing they want a traditional wife. Sorry for them, however, their grandiose pursuit of godly women often gets them slapped by God through demons that they might end up being like the 7 sons of Sceva, where they're trying to be with a godly woman and God is like, no. And so they end up getting lambasted, just like this random animal from America who was into prostitutes and he wanted to go and marry a trad wife, like a whole godly woman. And God just slapped him out the way like the 7 sons of Sceva was slapped out the way by demons. The Lord slapped him out the way, but what causes these men to ultimately want a good girl is the observation of the swagger of good girls, even though initially they imagined them boring. So bad women are put on a slippery path in that the guys that are always salivating after them one day wake up. Inevitably, like it happens like that. It has been happening like that all throughout history. They eventually snap out of their exorbitant sexual perversion, where they can do nothing but ogle like a cartoon character with eyes even popping out on springs at these licentious women all over the show. They get to a point where they stop ogling because now they just want to be serious. They get older, their bones get rigid and tired, and so they want to be respectable in society. And the thing about women as well is, as we age, it stops being cute, being that licentious. And so when that's all you've ever sat on all throughout your life, you are gonna struggle when you get to your 30s to realize that at some point I'm gonna have to stop this. At some point, but then what do I have? What have I cultivated? What else have I cultivated in order for me to be able to take the baton from here with that then? What have I cultivated? So that's why things like OnlyFans are dumb. That's why allowing yourself to titillate the taste buds of men while you don't even have a single stretch mark on your body is irresponsible. Because there's gonna come a time when you wish that people look at you differently. You're gonna wish that people see rather what's going on inside you. You're gonna wish people see the change of climate in your heart. The fact that temperatures have either skyrocketed or dropped, but it's not the same anymore. And that changed mindset, unfortunately, rumors are like an echo that way, or your former life is like an echo. It'll keep on reverberating into the future, even though you're a new person, even though you have changed, even though you're a different thing. So that's why I've been trying to get to young women, like these Gen Zs, these like, fresh out of high school, just newly starting in corporate. I'm trying to get to them early before they decimate their own reputations and then get shunned by the very men who could not stop groveling at their feet, trying to lick their toes. Yeah, they are gonna get to a point where they're gonna replace them for the boring girl that never went clubbing, the boring girl that sat at home, that did the homework, that studied, the boring girl that was wearing a Voops outfit while everybody was showing their thighs. The guys are literally going to humiliate you fast, girl, for that girl later on. And sometimes it's going to be so bad that he will first marry you, the bad girl, and then leave you for the boring girl. So making the boring girl the second wife. Like stuff like that is currently happening. And that's why now I guess bias gelem, because I was the boring girl. I became the boring girl. When I got newly saved, I became the boring girl that guys were like, yo, Futi, she's not putting out. And now they are prepared to even wait until marriage for sex. The guy in the US would regard women that didn't want, like, his history was full of fornication. And there was a time when, being a young hot man, he would never just rat out a woman just sitting around all up in his grill, looking all cute and sexy, but not wanting to put out. He was never the kind of guy that would rat a woman out like that. But then he got to the age of 41 and met a woman that had been chased for 11 years and was so besotted with the prospect of it that he was even prepared to abandon fornication for a season and wait until marriage to have sex with a woman that he now was fetishizing because she is a rare thing that is not like all these other women in these streets. All these other women in these streets, of which, by the way, were at some point highly praised by him, highly favored, even to the point, even at the expense of the boring girl. Well, that dude in America got kicked him to the curb. He was prepared to wait for me for sex after marriage, but that's only because, like I said, I became a fetish, a fantasy that he would have then got to walk in later on. The Lord rescued me from ending up some man's fulfilled fantasy, while I would have been the embarrassed source. But back in the day when I was still just 26, 27, so of marriable age, the age that women tend to get married at while men marry in their, early 30s. I was supposed to meet my 31-year-old guy and the two of us go into the sunset and get married when I was 27. But instead, that 31-year-old, those 31-year-olds, those 32-year-olds, those 33-year-olds were like, yo, Suga, please, Karabo, whatever. They passed me up. And now today, now that they're middle-aged men, they are thoroughly trying to make me their second wife. Imagine that. At the expense of who? The wild girl. The wild lady. All over the show, like splurging, throwing out dollars like it's confetti, for crying out loud. The way that she was just so with limited discretion concerning her expenditure, given the fact that men are always just throwing so much dough at her feet that all she can do is shop all day. And now the same man, like Proper, is trying to come into my life singing Pina. Yeah, John Legend. Baby, when I used to love you, nothing that I wouldn't do. I went through the fire for you, anything you asked me to. But I'm tired of living this lie. It's getting harder to justify. I realize that I just don't love you, and not like I used to. Passing a woman's shade that he was once upon a time spending 3/4 of his salary to satisfy the shopping desires of. And now, not like I used to, because all he can do is ogle at the virtue of Karabo. Karabo of which was around at the exact same time that he was splurging on this slay queen, and she had feelings for him. The two of them were drawn to each other, but Karabo was just so boring, and on top of that, she ain't gonna put out. Whoa! Passed me up, and 10 years later, they're trying to marry me. So, young men, what I'm trying to explain to you guys is there is a way around the chacharach disposition of these females all over the show that won't even listen to me because I think I'm hyper religious. They can't take me in their stride, and on top of that, just like my friend, my 23-year-old friend when I was 26 was like, I want to enjoy my youth, and she found me inebriating, just stymie. You are suffocating me. Yeah, I was suffocating her, but guess who she would never feel suffocated by when he insists upon her piety? A man she adores. If at all women get disincentivized from the sliding up and down stripper poles like little snakes down a tree, if at all they don't keep on sliding down stripper poles like Tarzan on a rope, watch out for the tree. If at all, men, you stop praising or rewarding the behavior of these women to continue in their debauched state. According to the scriptures, this is a prediction I can speculatively make, very successfully so, with likely results that I am currently stating might be the case. Based on the scriptures, women want your love so much that they'll do anything for it, including change their behavior with like the weather. Insofar as you like the weather, change what you want. If you men change what you want, you literally have got this like superpower. Yeah, that's what you have. You've got like a superpower to make women do what you want them to. And because we're living in 2023 in a licentious generation, a wicked and a perverse generation with no love and with a lot of debauchery flying all over the show, with a love of pleasure, love of money, being boastful, proud, slanderous, when you start shunning that behavior, when you start looking at it like it ain't got no swagger, when you start looking at it like it stank, like there's fungi and mold coming off it, you will watch women transform. You've got far more power than I ever can have over women, because their desire will be for your affection, and in order to gain or win that affection, they will change what they imagine you find disgusting. There is a dude that I had a massive crush on back in the day that made me listen to some CD on a loop from some guy I did not know, memorizing lyrics just so I can get to relate with him when he spoke about that artist. Because one time when I was chatting with him, he mentioned Dwele, D-W-E-L-E. And he was like, do you know Dwele? And I was like, huh? And he looked so disappointed in my answer that I went to Musica, back when they were still selling CDs out of stores, and I purchased a Dwele CD. I went looking for it, and there were there was only one. And I took that album and I listened to it in my car, in my house, when I was cleaning, everywhere where I was at, guys, on a loop until I knew every song to a point of memorizing lyrics. So just in case next time he asks me about Dwele, I can be like, oh yeah, you know that jam? The lyrics go like da 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 da. Yeah. Girl, thirsty. I was thirsty. It's again. Take 5. Yeah, that causes you to get like, nyoko later on. I was thirsty like that girl. Thirsty. Leñora. The guy, we never ever spoke about Dwele again, but I know about that artist today because I wanted a man to love me. I was like, hey, this guy's disappointed in my lack of knowledge about this particular R&B artist. So I'm gonna go and right ahead and find out about him. That's a man for you. That is the power of a man in the life of a woman. She will change. I have a cousin. I got stories for days. Y'all know that. Y'all know that's a thing. When I was growing up as a kid, my cousin and I were besotted out of this world with Beyonce. Not just Beyonce, Destiny's Child. At first we started out real cool, taking me places I ain't never been, and now Ebatung. We loved Destiny's Child like nothing in this world when they first came on the scene. Cousin Yam Nam doing little choreographies to the songs. Can you pay my bills? Bills. I was Kelly, she was Beyonce. Anybody else that we could find were the other two girls. Before Michelle even came on board. Yeah, then my cousin started dating some dude. Y'all know how Destiny's Child was so feministic, pro-female liberation, etc. Yeah, so it did not sit very well. The lyrics of some of the Destiny's Child songs, especially Can You Pay My Bills, You Trifling, Good for Nothing type of brother, Silly me, why hadn't I found another? So it turns out that some teenage guys were a little bit offended by the lyrics of Destiny's Child. Yeah, they found them too feministic and anti-male, so they didn't like Destiny's Child. Not as much as we did as them females. That's what's good. And then my cousin starts dating one such Destiny's Child hater. And next thing she's like, Yazzie, these women, I don't like Destiny's Child anymore. It's substandard. It's not even really good music. And on top of that, they keep bashing guys. And come on. Like, whatever. I was like, I guess there's not much to Destiny's Child. Now I was busy getting influenced by this very heavily influential cousin of mine. Until I snapped out of it when I was like, now maybe 1920. Because I was like, I'm sorry. I'm a survivor. I was like, I'm not joining you. Cause I love Destiny's Child, so I went back to loving Destiny's Child, but my cousin influenced me to unlove Destiny's Child because her boyfriend didn't like Destiny's Child. The same thing was also true with TLC. You know that song that came out, I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side. Yeah, at the time we were like bopping to that song until some dudes rocked up hating that song. And because they hated it, given that they felt afflicted by the song, given that they were somewhat scrubs, they didn't have cars, they were chilling out in passenger seats of their best friends' rides. Now my cousin and I were busy out there in these streets saying TLC ain't all that and a bag of chips, even though we knew they were a bag of chips and all that, at least back in the day. That is the power of men. That is how influential men are over women. They can make you change your music interests, your food interests. They can make you experiment with a new restaurant 20 kilometers out of town just because they said that their favorite meal is there and you want to be able to relate with him about la dombolo. Yeah, men have power over women, guys. Our desire will be for our husbands, in other words for men. And so what they say, we are going to try to be it, that we might appear compatible to them, that they might be like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. And just to get a man to a point where he's saying, she's the one, women will change their behavior. So, madoda, pray that women would be transformed if you like what I am, if you were inspired by what I am, if you, at the age of 24-5, are spazzing over me because I'm your fat Joe, you're spazzing over me because I'm your, who's this guy, Tupac, the way I was spazzing over these older guys. Stop trying to holler at me because you're gonna embarrass me in my life. Holla rather at them younger women that are gonna make sense for you in your life, that are age appropriate. But if at all by a Kenya by hectic, they're all over the show stripping, they're all over the show trying to do OnlyFans, or they're all over the show even though they're working in corporate South Africa, by nonetheless pride themselves in titivating you with fishnet stockings in the bedroom, trying to be freaks. And now you're tired of the freak mentality. You have graduated a lot earlier than your older brothers. Before you got to the age of 30, you already are tired of the carnality of women, because it's a lot worse with the Gen Zs than it was with the millennials and the Xennials and the Generation X's. It's just reached an astronomical height. But the only reason why millennial women are so licentious is because men in and of themselves have become so much more pornographic, and so they have been inspired to be more nude and more like prostitutes than regular girls because of the fact that you have praised prostitutes. You have heralded them, you have exalted them. And so these women are like, I guess I gotta be like a stripper even though I'm a whole academic in order for my boyfriend to find me pleasant. But when you start to abhor such behavior, when you start to basically regress back to back in the day, when prostitutes ought to have just been left in brothels and any woman and all that was respectable respectable, do you understand, not do certain things precisely because it was a turn off to men of the time. If you want women to stop being licentious, I promise you, it doesn't matter how feministic they are, how much they're standing on the rooftops on some survivor, how much they're like, all the ladies are independent, throw your hands up at me. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is, this is something that is inherently inbuilt in them by the God of the universe, so they can't change it. And the devil knows that human beings are going to keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again because they're wired the exact same across ages, whether or not they think times have changed. And so because God knows that this is going to be maintained, and he's the one that put down the judgment inside Eve's throat to say that you will long and salivate after your husband, you will desire him. Given that God said that, you can literally tap into it. Trust that even though they're like, I can do without him, I am a survivor that's independent, and you don't own me. Don't try to tell me in any way. I don't tell you what to do. I don't tell you what to say. They can rock up with an attitude, but the moment you break away from them because you find it uncouth, their behavior, they're gonna suddenly stop being like, you don't tell me what I want. Papa, you don't own me. Papa, papa, you don't own me. You don't own me. You don't own me. Woo! All the ladies are independent. Throw your hands up at me. I can buy myself flowers. I can hold my own hand. Talk to myself for hours. Do all the things that I can. I can take myself dancing. And I can hold my own hand. I can love me better than... Okay, alright. Ish. Whew. Maybe if I just, change my wardrobe a little bit and swear less, and maybe if I changed the way that I present myself, have a little bit more poise and stop being so rough in my life, I don't know, maybe he'll call. Because frankly, I don't want to love myself. Can't love me better. I can't love me better, baby. No, I want my guy. That's women. It's literally that basic. It's so easy. They will go from singing all those songs. They will go on the rooftops like Miley Cyrus, and Pinayabona will start to dwindle. The pitch will fade. It'll plateau. Hit an asymptote. Just flatline. Next thing, people trying to bring defibrillators on it. Friends are trying to convince her, no, Maragel, you got this. At the end of the day, her desire is for her husband. And there is nothing she can do about that poignant desire because it is from the God of the universe. It is a judgment on her. Meaning that Mom Zeba, because she's a stripper now, when you start to ignore her flagrant antics in being butch, in being whatever, like proper, just walk on some, okay, cool. You get to be what you want to be, do what you want to do, lady. Alright, you're entitled, you're a whole grown woman, you got your own opinions, but I don't want a woman like that. Is that basic? There is nothing more, there is nothing more piercing, more heartbreaking to a woman than hearing from a guy that she has a big fat crush on that I don't want a woman like that. I don't want a woman that cannot, for the life of her, recognize the difference between underwear and pants. Like, I can't. But hey, you're entitled. It's 2023, you're free. Do you fly like a bird? I'm not saying diss the woman, but make it clear that you are not about to be with her because of that, without first being with her because of that. Not like the dude was Savannah trying to tell his girl to stop drinking it. Not like my former colleague that was trying to tell his girl to stop doing what it is that he found her doing. If at all you've never been with her, but she's out here spazzing over you, you've got power to change her before you get with her. So stop trying to be with a woman that woke up and smelled the coffee when she was 26 and now she's 39, and you're trying to date her as a Ben 10, as like a Gen Z, Generation Z. Yo, blah, my boss. I'm so I'm so old for Gen Zs that I'm like at the very beginning of millennials, basically bordering on being Generation X. They call us Xennials, so I could even like qualify as a Generation X in some instances. And so it is highly unacceptable for me to date a Gen Z, like proper, like entirely. But I recognize the potential for Generation Z people to like millennials or even exennials because it's been happening for a minute. My boyfriend at 21 liked a 33-year-old woman and I was jealous. When I was just a child, I was out just spazzing over Tupac and Fat Joe. So we get it. Sometimes you spaz over women that are much too old for you, or men. But it is irresponsible to date them. Irresponsible to go and right ahead and marry them. When the age gap is too exorbitant, guys, it is just going to happen. Do you understand, Jolene? Where yala? Where? O sa believe doch where? Kaya ka namin lang mo life ho ba na sa mama lo wait ho kotsi. Ki filang ka situation na ikotsi lo le mala wait king it kutsang bana. Kutsang tibang mo lo ki mo kala ka para asbestos seloy tibel lateng. Jaka Shadrach Meshach le Abednego tsanang ka fagara mo lo na maraliska cha akire banks. Tibang ko tsikyo ya tla like a ballistic missile ya intercontinental tibang diding. Aparang ayon do mo ele ko Israel gore le lo defend yourselves. Intercept the missiles mid-air. But Huridiska lenda ramahara bekamusoya no natle. If you play with fire, do that. I'm not up for grabs, never have been crying about that, but I recognize the cleanliness of Gen Z guys and how it is that they sometimes might feel like they're feasible for me. I get my black don't crack. Every so often people confuse me for a high school kid. I might look young, but bottom line is chronologically, I was born in 1984 on the 8th of August, so if you want to send me a birthday gift, I'll take it, thank you. Who says no to a gift? But like, I'm not gonna be with you. At the end of the day, I grew up amidst the exennials and millennials. I grew up as a child in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and there is no way under heaven that at all I would ever slip through the cracks hanging around an unfortunate little Gen Z that thoroughly imagines or anticipates that just because we, look my size, just because we look the same size, just like that lady at the Pick and Pay, saying to me that I must just run away, get out with her colleague because she imagined that I was the age of that Gen Z employee at the Pick and Pay, and so I could just go to free her from the burden of dealing with this little boy without even realizing that I'm more her age. Yeah, we get that that's a thing. Phenotypically, I look a particular way. Genetically, I'm enabled because my mom's hair don't age until she gets to the age of 60. Neither does my uncle's. It runs in the family, and I'm grateful for that. Being a black woman also goes a long way. Retinol, vitamin C, all these other interventions work, but it's still true that I'm 39. And that'll never change. And guess in whose eyes it'll also never change? Your parents, guys. Your parents, your cousins, your sisters, your ecosystem, your fellow males. Like, there will always be somebody out here lamenting about iskukwane sako. And I mean, like, hey, that's what's good. I don't want to cry. I don't want to get dissed by your little girls that were spazzing over you. They were in love with you. They're 22, you're 24. But like, you passed her up for a 39-year-old woman. I don't want to be gossiped in the aisles of Wits University. Like, I don't want my name to be mentioned amidst a hanging out crew at the Matrix. Go Wits. Batong, ke mogolo ke le motho na ke mokana. Hobaneng ke sebwa ke bana ba nang le 23, ke bana ba 21, 19-year-olds. Why am I being gossiped by a whole 20-year-old crew of girlfriends in the club? Music is just raging. Yo, Joe, tabo busy ngalo mo yung mfazo na 39, Joe. Waka 39 yo, I lama totalana. Well, I'm not trying to be gossiped in a nightclub. My name should not even be mentioned in a nightclub. It should not be mentioned unless I'm a lecturer at a university. It should not be mentioned among interns at a corporate, among the call center agents. My name should not just be getting thrown around amidst bana on a playground. But bisbanse batala mi do laloti marababo kakarabo nyaya tle. Haki right ding. Haki batolo gwaraki chiquitas. I don't want to be dissed by little girls that are gonna gossip me while eating Wacky Wednesday Yokos Diaz because it's the cheapest meal for the day because that's all they can afford. I'm not doing it. And on top of that, I'm broke, see. Yeah, I'm broke. Yo, let's watch the next part.